In my previous life, I took a bullet for her and cleared every obstacle for her, only to be given a check for $3 million. After I died, she didn't even come to my funeral. Reborn, I'm tired. I don't want to be a simp anymore. This time, I only want to live for myself. But why, when I decided to let go, did she start to panic? The smell of disinfectant stung my nostrils, and I snapped my eyes open. A white ceiling, white sheets, and a cold needle in the back of my hand. I was reborn. Back to the day, I took a bullet for Sophia Taylor and lay in the hospital. In a previous life, I was stabbed by a crazed suitor while saving her and almost died. I lay on a hospital bed. She came to see me, her face still wearing that eternally unchanging iceberg expression. Ethan, thank you. She took a check out of her Hermes bag and placed it on the bedside table. This is $3 million US. The password is 6 zeros. Consider it compensation. From now on, don't come looking for me again. After saying that, she turned and walked away without a trace of reluctance. I looked at that check as if it were the biggest joke imaginable. I had devoted 10 years to her, from university to the workplace, attending to her every need, always on call. I thought that even a stone with enough warmth for me would have been warmed. In the end, my 10 years, my one life, were worth only $3 million US. Ridiculously, I even refused at the time, saying I loved her person, not her money. Then I kept being her sycophant, and in the end, to help her deal with a business rival, I was dumped in the river. When my body was hauled up, it was already swollen and unrecognizable. And she, Sophia, the woman I protected with my life, didn't even attend my funeral. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. A sharp pain radiated from the scar on my chest, but that pain was not even 1/10,000th of the hurt inside me. The hospital room door was pushed open, and the sound of high heels striking the floor grew from distant to near. It was Sophia. She was exactly as I remembered. A bespoke white suit, long hair pinned up, makeup immaculate, eyes as cold as a Siberian gale. Her gaze was like two ice blades stabbing into me. Awake. Her voice had not an ounce of warmth. I looked at her. The woman I had loved for 10 years suddenly felt utterly strange and ridiculous. I replied, my voice hoarse. Sophia walked to the bedside, her movements identical to those in my memory, and took that check out of her bag. Ethan, I owe you this time. She placed the check on the bedside table. Take these $3 million US. We're even. That line again. Even. Well said. I looked at that flimsy piece of paper and smiled. In my last life, I tore it up. This life, why would I make things hard on myself over money? I reached out, took the check, and carefully examined the numbers on it. Good, not a cent missing. Sophia's eyebrows twitched almost imperceptibly, as if somewhat surprised by my reaction. To her, I should have reacted as before, blushing, shouting that I didn't want the money, that I only wanted her. Unfortunately, that Ethan was already dead in the cold river. Thank you, Miss Taylor. I folded the check and put away. Then I looked up, stared straight into her eyes, and said slowly, word by word, Sophia, let's break up. The air froze instantly. A crack appeared for the first time on Sophia's eternally ice-cold face. Her pupils constricted. She seemed unable to believe what she had heard. What did you say? I said, we're breaking up. I repeated, my tone as calm as if commenting on the nice weather. From today on, you walk your sunny road, I'll cross my solitary bridge. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. After speaking, I pulled out the needle from the back of my hand, gritted my teeth against the pain, threw off the quilt, and was about to get out of bed. A simp ends up with nothing, but given a second life, I don't want to be a dog anymore. I want to be human again. Ethan, are you done making a scene? Sophia's voice shot up suddenly, carrying a hint of irritation she herself hadn't even noticed. I didn't make a scene. I put on my shoes and straightened up. Though the wound still throbbed faintly, my spine was straighter than ever. I looked at her, the woman who once occupied my entire world. Miss Taylor, thank you for your $3 million. I'll settle the medical bills myself. The rest, consider it you buying out my 10 years of youth. Goodbye. No, good riddance. I didn't look at her again. I walked straight out of the ward. Behind me, Sophia's gaze was incredulous, complicated, and tinged with a hint of panic. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Stepping out of the hospital, the evening breeze brushed my face. I took a deep breath and felt fully alive again. The air of freedom, goddamn, it's sweet. I checked my pockets. Only a little over $200 left. I gave a self-mocking laugh. After 10 years of being a simp, I still ended up broke. But it's fine. Starting today, everything will be different. I first went to the bank to deposit those $3 million US, then took a taxi back to my 10 square meter rented room. Looking at the room full of things related to Sophia, her photos, the little gifts she'd carelessly thrown to me, and even the thick diary I'd written for her. With a blank expression, I found a black garbage bag and threw everything in, not leaving a single thing behind. After doing all that, I felt the last bit of shackles in my heart disappear. My stomach was growling with hunger. I changed clothes, tucked the few $1,000s in cash I had just taken out into my pocket, and walked out of the rental. Nothing celebrated a rebirth better than a barbecue. Downstairs at Old Lee's Barbecue, the air was thick with the smell of cooking. I found a corner to sit in and called out to the boss. Boss, 20 skewers of kidney, 20 skewers of tendon, 10 oysters, and another case of beer. All right, the boss responded cheerfully. Soon, greasy grilled skewers and chilled beer arrived. I popped open a bottle and gulped down half of it. The cold liquid slid down my throat, making me shiver with delight. This is what living feels like. In my past life, to cater to Sophia's so-called refined tastes, I never touched these unsuitable things. I studied wine, learned golf, and practiced Western dining etiquette, turning myself into a joke. And the result? While she chatted and laughed with those genuine wealthy airs, I didn't even have the right to join them. I ate while calculating the future. Relying on memories from my previous life, making money was ridiculously easy. I remembered very clearly that in 3 days, a little-known stock would skyrocket because of the announcement of a new technology, rising by hundreds of times within a month. My $3 million would soon become $300 million. I'll buy a big flat, hire 10 or 8 nannies, lie around every day, and do whatever I want. Isn't that better than being a simp? Just as I was savoring the thought, the ruckus from a nearby table interrupted my reverie. Little sister, have a drink with your brother. Why be so disrespectful? A sleazy voice said. I turned my head to look. A young man in a floral shirt and a big gold chain was harassing a girl. The girl looked like a college student, her hair in a ponytail. Although afraid, she stood stubbornly. I don't know you. Please show some respect. Respect? In Mist City, I'm Leo, and that means respect. The young man in the floral shirt laughed arrogantly, reaching out to grab the girl's wrist. Leo? I narrowed my eyes. The name sounded somewhat familiar. Oh, I remember now. The only son of the Wong family, a second-rate clan in Mist City, a good-for-nothing playboy who never learned anything. In his last life, he even set many traps for me because he coveted Sophia's beauty. I didn't expect to run into him so soon. What a small world for enemies. I originally didn't want to meddle. I just wanted to lie low and stay quiet. But what Leo said next made me put down the bottle in my hand. Damn it, giving face and getting no respect. Do you know Miss Taylor Group? I can sleep with her whenever I want. Who the hell do you think you are? He actually dared to mention Sophia. Although I'd already decided to cut Sophia off completely, hearing such trash talk about her in such filthy language still ignited a nameless fury in me. More importantly, this Leo was the one who in my previous life hired people to retaliate against me, which made Sophia think I caused trouble and grow even more disgusted with me. This life, I don't want such minor players to derail my grand plan to lie flat. It seems some troubles must be dealt with thoroughly in one go. The girl turned deathly pale with fear as Leo's hand was about to touch her. I stood up and strolled over slowly. I pressed one hand against the wrist of the girl Leo was about to touch. My movement wasn't fast, even somewhat languid, but Leo's hand felt as if it had been clamped by an iron vise and couldn't move. Leo hissed in pain and snapped his head around, his triangular eyes glaring at me viciously. Who the hell are you? How dare you interfere with my business? Are you bored with life? The few henchmen around him immediately closed in, each looking fierce and menacing. The atmosphere at the barbecue stall instantly grew tense. The other customers were too frightened to make a sound, and the owner looked awkward. The girl I was shielding whispered, "Thank you, but you should leave. They're not good people." I didn't turn around. I just said calmly to Leo, "Let her go, then get out." My voice wasn't loud, but it was like a bucket of cold water poured over Leo's arrogant temper. He froze for a moment, then, as if he'd heard the biggest joke in the world, burst into exaggerated laughter. "Ha ha! Did you hear that? He told me to get out." Leo pointed at me and said to his lackeys, "After all these years in Mist City, no one has ever dared talk to me like that." His laughter cut off abruptly, his expression turning icy in an instant. "Kid, I don't care who you are. Today, I'm taking those 2 legs of yours." No sooner had he finished than a yellow-haired thug behind him grabbed a beer bottle and hurled it viciously at my head. Gasps rose up all around. The girl was even more frightened and shut her eyes. I didn't even lift an eyelid. Just as the bottle was about to fall, I moved. I still held Leo's wrist, but I angled my body slightly and easily dodged the bottle. At the same time, I lifted my other foot and, as fast as lightning, kicked the blonde's lower abdomen. Bang! A muffled thud. The blonde thug flew backward like a boiled shrimp, hunched over, knocked over 2 tables with a crash, let out a pained groan, and couldn't get up anymore. The whole place fell deathly silent. Everyone was cowed by that crisp, decisive kick. The arrogant grin on Leo's face froze, replaced by a look of astonishment. The remaining hangers-on exchanged glances and didn't dare step forward again. "All of you get him! Finish him!" Leo snapped back, furious. A few of them mustered their courage and charged at me together. I sneered. In my previous life, to protect Sophia, I was personally trained for 3 full years by her grandfather, who had served as a special forces instructor. Although I hated that time, I have to admit that using what I learned on these few thugs was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. I loosened my grip on Leo's hand, my figure flashing like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. Only the crisp sounds of crack, bang, and screams could be heard. In less than 10 seconds, Leo's several henchmen were all already lying on the ground, with either broken arms or broken legs, howling everywhere. I clapped my hands as if I'd only done something insignificant. Then I turned around and walked step by step toward the stunned Leo. The color drained from his face in an instant. His eyes were filled with fear as he looked at me. "Why you? Don't come closer." He was so frightened that he stumbled back 3 steps and fell onto the ground, landing in a sit and getting covered in grease. "Do you know who I am? My dad is Thomas Wong. If you touch me, my dad won't let you off." I walked up to him and looked down at him from above. "Thomas," I laughed. "I'll be waiting." I bent down, picked up the half-empty beer bottle from the ground, and twisted off the cap. Under Leo's frightened stare, I poured the cold beer over his head, not leaving a single drop. "Today, I'm just giving you a lesson." My voice was soft, but sounded like the whisper of a demon. "Don't let me see you again. If I do, it won't be your subordinates' legs that get broken. Get out." Leo trembled all over and scrambled away, rolling and crawling, not even bothering about his underlings wailing on the ground. The farce ended there. I turned around. The ponytailed girl was looking at me with a gaze full of admiration and gratitude. "Bye, big brother, thank you. My name is Lily White. I'm a student at Mist City University. You, no need to thank me." I waved my hand, cutting her off. I wasn't doing it for her. I was just clearing away a stone that might trip me up on my path to lying flat. I tossed a few $100s on the table and said to the stunned owner, "Boss, the bill's paid. Keep the change." With that, I turned and walked away, my deed and reputation hidden away. Behind me, Lily's admiring gaze and the reverent murmurings of the other diners meant nothing to me. I just want to go home and get a good night's sleep. However, I didn't notice that in a black Bentley at the corner, a pair of cold eyes had taken in everything that had just happened. Inside the car, the atmosphere was oppressively tense. The driver and the assistant in the front passenger seat didn't even dare to breathe. Sophia sat in the back seat, a document pinched in her hand, but her gaze remained fixed on the figure that had vanished into the night. Her heart was in turmoil. The man at the barbecue stall who had felled the crowd with 3 punches and a few kicks, his eyes icy, his presence overwhelming. Could it really be Ethan? Is that Ethan who had followed her for 10 years, who spoke cautiously and didn't even dare to contradict her loudly? Is that Ethan who instinctively hid behind her whenever he saw a thug? She didn't believe it, but the facts are right there in front of her. Since leaving the hospital, she had been feeling a knot in her chest. She didn't understand why Ethan would suddenly say he wanted to break up. 10 years. He had been like her shadow. She had grown accustomed to his presence. She thought he would always be there. So when he said he was leaving, her first reaction wasn't sadness, but anger, a fury at her possession being taken out of her control. She had the driver follow him. She wanted to see what this man intended to do after leaving her. As a result, she saw the very scene from before. That decisiveness, that ruthlessness, that ease and composure. It was something she had never seen. Check. Sophia finally spoke, her voice cold as ice. Emily, the assistant in the front passenger seat, hurriedly came to her senses. Miss Taylor, check what? Check the Leo he just mentioned, Thomas Wong. Yes. And also, Sophia paused, her expression complicated. Check Ethan for the past 10 years. Besides following me, what else has he done? She suddenly realized that she might never have truly known this man. 10 years. All she knew was that his name was Ethan Johnson, that he was her classmate, her suitor, her hanger-on. Beyond that, she knew nothing. Emma felt a little awkward. Miss Taylor, we've already checked Mr. Johnson's files. Very ordinary. An orphan, finished university on scholarships and part-time jobs. Nothing special. Then check again. Sophia's voice brooked no argument. I want the most detailed report, including who he meets every day and what he does. Yes, Miss Taylor. Emma dare not say more. The Bentley slowly started and merged into the traffic. Sophia leaned back in her seat, closed her eyes, but Ethan's expression from a moment ago kept replaying in her mind. It was a look of detached understanding of everything and a hint of disgust. He was disgusted with me? That realization made Sophia's heart clench sharply, a strange, unpleasant feeling spreading through her. She couldn't figure it out. What exactly had she done wrong? She had given him $3 million. More than enough, settling everything between them. So why did he look at her with that expression? Could it be that he really didn't love her anymore? The moment that thought popped up, Sophia immediately snuffed it out. Impossible. He had loved her for 10 years. This must be his new trick, playing hard to get. Yes, it definitely was. He wanted to get my attention this way, to make me beg him to stay. A self-mocking, cold smile curled at the corner of Sophia's mouth. Ethan, you're far too naive. Sophia Taylor, would never turn back. You want to play? I'll see you through to the end. I'll just wait and see how long you can hold out. The next 3 days were incredibly pleasant. I slept until I woke naturally every day, then went to the market to buy some vegetables and went home to make myself something to eat. In the afternoon, I'll go for a stroll in the park and watch the old man play chess. In the evening, I'll go back to old Lee's barbecue, stand to eat skewers and drink. No calls from Sophia, no messes to deal with. I feel completely relaxed. This is what life is. Over on Sophia's side, sure enough, there's no sign of anything. I guess she must think I'm playing the hard-to-get game, waiting for me to break down and go back to beg her. Unfortunately for her, she would be disappointed. Not only will I not go back, I'll live better than ever. Today is the day that stock is about to skyrocket. I got up early, ate a little, and took a taxi to the biggest brokerage in Miss City. In my past life, To help Sophia manage some investments, I was intimately familiar with these procedures. Opening accounts, transferring funds. I looked at the $3 million in the account and, without any hesitation, went all in on a stock called Aurora Tech. At present, Aurora Tech's share price is only $1.20, half dead and lifeless, a junk stock everyone avoids. But only I knew that at 2 this afternoon, because it would release a disruptive chip technology, its stock price would skyrocket. After buying the shares, I left the brokerage. All that remained was to wait. I didn't go home. Instead, I wandered through the busiest commercial district in the city center. I paused as I passed a real estate agency. The rental was too small. It was time to move. I went inside. A young agent immediately came up enthusiastically. "Sir, hello. Are you looking to rent or buy?" "Buy a house." "All right. Do you have any requirements? Like location, size, budget, that sort of thing?" I thought for a moment. In my previous life, I dreamed of owning a unit in the top riverside luxury residence in Mist City, the Galaxy Summit. That was the real wealthy district of Mist City. A single apartment there easily cost hundreds of millions of dollars. "Is there a ready-built unit at Galaxy Summit?" I asked calmly. The smile on the young agent Jack Wong's face froze for a moment. "Galaxy Summit?" He sized me up from head to toe. I'm dressed very casually today, wearing flea market clothes that add up to less than $300. No matter how you look at it, I don't seem like someone who can afford a place at Galaxy Apex. The enthusiasm in his eyes instantly faded by more than half, and his tone became somewhat perfunctory. "Sir, buying a property at Galaxy Apex requires asset verification, with a minimum of $500 million in liquid funds. And there are no small units now. The smallest are 500 square meter large flats." The implication was, you can't afford it, so don't waste our time here. I smiled and didn't mind. I've seen plenty of people who flatter the high and look down on the low. Capital verification, huh? Fine. I took out my phone and opened my stock account. It was 1:30 in the afternoon. 30 minutes until 2. In the account, that $3 million still lay there quietly, even having fallen a bit to just over $2,900,000. Jack glanced at it, and a trace of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. "With just this little money, you still want to buy a unit at Galaxy Pinnacle?" At that moment, a woman in a professional skirt suit, who looked like a manager, walked over. "Jack, what's going on? Does this gentleman need anything?" "Sarah, this gentleman wants to see a unit at Galaxy Pinnacle," the agent called Jack said, his tone tinged with mockery. The manager called Sarah froze for a moment, but her professionalism kept her smiling. "Sir, I'm sorry, but Shingha Summit does require proof of funds. If it's inconvenient for you, we can look at other developments, such as—" I raised my hand to interrupt her. "No need, we'll wait a little while." I watched the time on my phone screen, ticking away second by second. 2 p.m. sharp. A miracle had happened. The stock price chart, which had originally been as still as a stagnant pool, suddenly seemed injected with adrenaline, forming a 90-degree angle and shooting straight upward. $1.20, $2, $5, $10. But in just a few minutes, the stock price had nearly increased tenfold. My account balance, which was less than $3 million, instantly surged to $30 million. And this was only the beginning. The entire trading hall was buzzing because of this speculative stock. WTF? What happened to Aurora Tech? Are they crazy? Limit up. Limit up. Who the hell bought it? The broker Jack beside me was also staring wide-eyed at the string of dazzling numbers on my phone screen. $30 million. His throat moved. His face was full of disbelief. I turned off my phone and looked up at manager Sarah, who was equally stunned. "Now, can you take me to see the house?" Sarah reacted much faster than that, Jack. After the shock, her face immediately filled with a perfectly professional smile, even tinged with a bit of flattery. "Sir, of course. Of course. This way, please. Let's go to the VIP room to talk." She shot a hard glance at the stunned Jack and personally led me toward the broker company's internal VIP room. Jack's face went deathly pale, He knew he had misjudged and had offended a true tycoon. In the VIP room, top-tier Earl Grey tea was immediately served. Sarah personally poured tea for me, keeping her demeanor extremely deferential. "Sir, I'm really sorry. Jack failed to recognize greatness. I apologize to you on his behalf. Which set of the pinnacle of the galaxy would you like to see? I'll arrange it for you right away. Bring out your best suite." I lifted my teacup, blew on the steam, and said lightly, "Best." Sarah's eyes lit up. "That would have to be the penthouse crown unit. 360-degree river views, private sky garden and infinity pool, fully furnished, full smart home system, move-in ready. The only issue is the price." "How much?" $300 million USD. Sarah gave the price cautiously. I nodded. "Okay, let's go with that. But I don't have enough money right now." Sarah's smile stiffened for a moment, but quickly returned to normal. "It's okay, sir. We can view the house first. And as for the funds, I'll pay the full amount within a month." I interrupted her. "Aurora Tech's stock will stabilize around $120 per share in a month. My $3 million will become $300 million. Perfect." Hearing me speak so confidently, Sarah actually believed me. Someone who can turn $3 million into $30 million in a few minutes. If they say they can produce $300 million in a month, they're definitely not bluffing. This is definitely some financial tycoon experiencing life. "All right, sir. I'll arrange a car right away. We'll go see the apartment now." Half an hour later, I was standing before the floor-to-ceiling window on the top floor of Pinnacle of the Galaxy. Below my feet flowed the ceaseless river and the dazzling city lights. The entire mist city seemed as if it were beneath my feet. In my previous life, I could only look up from below here, fantasizing that one day Sophia would bring me up. In this life, I climbed up here by myself. Moreover, I will become the master of this place. "Sir, are you satisfied?" Sarah was eagerly introducing at my side. "Not bad." I nodded. "Prepare the contract." All right. Sarah was overjoyed. This was a huge deal. Just the commission could save her 20 years of hard work. Just then my phone rang. It's an unfamiliar number. I answered it casually. "Hello." A deep, gloomy male voice came from the other end of the phone. "Is this Ethan Johnson?" "It's me. Who is this?" You don't need to know who I am." The man's voice snorted coldly. "You just need to know that you've provoked someone you shouldn't have. Leo, Mr. Wong, you remember, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "Thomas Wong's man?" The motion was pretty quick. "You're given 1 hour. Come to the abandoned factory in the western suburbs. Come alone. If you dare call the police, or don't come, then wait to collect the body of that college student named Lily White." The call was disconnected. I gripped the phone. My expression turned ice cold in an instant. Again like this. In my previous life, Leo used this same tactic to threaten a friend of mine and force me to go over. Then he sent an ambush and broke one of my legs. When Sophia found out, she didn't help me. Instead, she scolded me for causing trouble and embarrassing her. This time, they actually dared to use the same tricks again. And what's worse, they even dragged innocent Lily into it. I originally just wanted to lie low, but some flies insist on buzzing around. It seems that unless I swat them all at once, I won't get any peace and quiet. "Sir, is something wrong?" Sarah asked with concern when she saw my expression. "It's nothing." I put away my phone and regained my composure. "I have some personal matters to take care of. Prepare the contract. I'll come back later to sign it." "All right, sir. Shall I send a car for you?" "No need." I walked out of Galaxy Summit and hailed a taxi at the curb. "Master, go to the abandoned factory in the western suburbs." The driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror, as if about to say something, then stopped. I said calmly, "I'll pay you 10 times the fare." "Got it. Please sit tight." The driver floored it, and the taxi shot out like an arrow from a bow. "Is that Thomas Wong?" "So he's a big shot in Fog City's underworld?" "Very good. I'd like to see whether you can keep that precious son of yours safe today." The abandoned factory in the western suburbs had its rust-streaked gate wide open, like a giant maw ready to devour someone. I paid the fare and walked in alone. The interior of the factory was vast and dim, with only a few beams of light leaking through the broken windows, revealing dust motes dancing in the air. Just as I stepped into the center, the surrounding roll-up doors came crashing down with a clatter. The lights suddenly flashed bright. On the factory's second-floor platform, Leo sat smugly in a chair. Standing beside him was a man in his 50s with a fierce look, presumably his father, Thomas Wong. Below them, Lily was tied to a chair with a cloth stuffed in her mouth, looking terrified at me and shaking her head repeatedly. On the factory floor, dozens of burly men armed with steel pipes and machetes stood, surrounding me in a ring. This show of force is even bigger than in my previous life. Ethan, you really had the balls to come. Leo sneered when he saw me, standing up arrogantly and pointing at my nose. Weren't you so tough that day? Today I want to see how you fight dozens of people. Thomas said nothing, only sizing me up with a scrutinizing, sullen gaze. I ignored Leo's taunts and fixed my eyes directly on Thomas. Let her go, and I can pretend nothing happened. My voice echoed in the empty factory. Ha ha ha. Leo laughed again. Are you fucking kidding my dad? Who the hell do you think you are? Dad, don't waste words on him. Break his legs first, make him kneel, and kowtow to me. Thomas finally spoke, his voice hoarse and deep. Young man, you've got some skill, but you don't know your place. I, Thomas Wong, have run things in Miss City for 30 years. You're the first person to touch my son and to threaten me. He waved his hand. Finish him. Dozens of burly men shouted, brandishing weapons, charging at me from all directions. Lily shut her eyes in fear, tears running down her cheeks. I stood rooted to the spot, motionless, just as the steel pipe of the first thug was about to strike my head. I moved. My figure blurred into an afterimage as I charged straight into the crowd. 3 years of hellish training in my past life had already etched the instincts of combat into my very bones. I had no weapons. My body was the strongest weapon. Elbows, knees, fists, feet. Every strike landed precisely on the enemy's most vulnerable joints and parts. Crack! A burly man's wrist was easily snapped by me, and the steel pipe clattered to the ground. Bang! With a side kick, I struck another man's temple. He didn't even let out a sound before collapsing straight down. I tore through them like an unstoppable tiger rampaging through a flock of sheep. Those so-called strongmen were as fragile as paper in front of me. Screams, bones cracking, one after another. In less than a minute, dozens of strongmen all fell to the ground, rendered incapable of fighting. The entire factory fell into a deathly silence once more. Only heavy breathing and pained groans remained. Leo on the second-floor platform had long since lost the look of triumph on his face. He stood with his mouth agape, staring at me as if he had seen a ghost. Thomas also suddenly sprang up from his chair, his expression extremely grave. He'd spent 30 years running in the Jianghu, seen countless masters, but someone like me, barehanded, taking out dozens of armed thugs in a minute and coming away without a scratch. He had never seen anything like it. This wasn't human. This was a monster. I flicked non-existent dust off my hand, looked up, my gaze like lightning, and stared straight at Thomas. Now, can we have a proper conversation? Thomas's expression was changeable. He was battle-hardened and could naturally see that the strength I had just displayed was far beyond that of an ordinary thug. This was a true martial master. Such a person would either come from a reclusive ancient martial family or from a mysterious state force. Whichever the case, he was not someone a local tiger could provoke. He glanced at his still trembling son and felt remorse for the first time. What kind of being had this unfilial son actually provoked? Who are you exactly? Thomas's voice had lost its earlier arrogance and now carried a trace of apprehension. Who I am isn't important. I climbed the iron ladder to the second floor step by step. My footsteps sounded unusually clear in the silent factory. What's important is that your son messed with someone he shouldn't have. Leo was so frightened he hid behind Thomas, trembling as he said, Dad, he's a monster. Thomas slapped Leo across the face. Shut up. You unfilial son. He took a deep breath and, facing the figure of me who had already walked onto the platform, actually clasped his fists in salute. Sir, this matter is because I, Wang so-and-so, failed in raising my child properly. I am willing to compensate. I only beg you to show mercy and spare my dog's son. Able to yield and to stand firm, he was not without some character. Too bad. You picked the wrong person to mess with. I said nothing, walked straight to Lily, untied the rope around her, and took the cloth out of her mouth. Are you okay? Lily was still shaken, but she still shook her head, her eyes red as she looked at me. I'm fine. Brother Ethan, I'm sorry I got you into this. It's not your fault. I comforted her, then helped her to her feet. I turned around and looked at Thomas again. Compensation? I sneered. Do you think I'm short on money? Thomas was momentarily stunned. Of course, someone of his caliber wouldn't be short on money. What do you want? It's simple. My gaze landed on Leo. Make him disappear from Fog City. I don't want to see him anymore. Leo trembled all over and screamed, No, Dad, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave Fog City. Thomas's expression grew extremely ugly. Forcing his only son to leave Mist City hurts him more than killing him. This means the Wang family's roots will be severed. Sir, isn't this demand a bit too? You have no choice. I cut him off, my tone cold. Or I can do it myself and make him disappear forever. There was an undisguised, murderous intent in my words. Cold sweat instantly soaked the back of Thomas. He had no doubt that this young man in front of him would definitely say it and be able to do it. In the face of absolute power, the influence and connections he had cultivated for 30 years seemed so ridiculous. He closed his eyes as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. All right, I agree. When he opened his eyes again, they were full of resolve. Tomorrow, I'll send him to Africa. Without my permission, he shall never return to the country. Dad, no, Leo cried. Thomas, however, acted as if he hadn't heard. He bowed deeply to me. Please, sir, keep your promise. I keep my word, I said, nodding. See them out. Thomas immediately called over one of his uninjured men and had him drive Lily and me away. From beginning to end, I didn't look at Leo once. This kind of ant isn't worth my time or energy. In the car, Lily kept stealing glances at me. Big brother Ethan, who exactly are you? You're amazing. I'm just an ordinary person who wants to lie flat. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes to rest. Lily nodded ambiguously, not asking further. But the light of admiration in her bright eyes only grew stronger. What I didn't know was that shortly after I left the factory, Sophia's assistant Emma, holding a newly uncovered file, knocked on the CEO's office door. Her face showed an unprecedented look of shock. Miss Taylor, we found something. Another dossier on Ethan. No, Mr. Johnson. Speak. Sophia looked at the documents without lifting her head. Mr. Johnson, 3 years ago, he was personally trained by her grandfather, Mr. Arthur Taylor. Codename, Blade. What did you say? The pen in Sophia's hand clattered onto the desk. She jerked her head up, her eyes filled with disbelief. Say that again. Emma swallowed, then handed over the top secret file. Miss Taylor, this was pulled from Mr. Arthur's highest-level classified archives. 3 years ago, Mr. Arthur personally selected Mr. Johnson and put him through a 3-year secret Special Forces level training program, with the aim of making him your ultimate shadow bodyguard. His combat, reconnaissance, driving, and intelligence analysis skills, they're all top tier. His codename is Blade. Sophia picked up the file, her fingers going slightly white from gripping it too hard. The document contained a photograph of Ethan, but his gaze was completely different from the one she remembered. It was the kind of coldness and resolve forged by the baptism of blood and fire. Below were his various training results. For every item, it read, outstanding. Sophia's mind went blank. A sharp blade? She remembered her grandfather once telling her that he had prepared the sharpest knife for her, one that could protect her at any time. She hadn't taken it seriously then, thinking it was just her grandfather's exaggerated words. She never would have imagined that this sharp blade would turn out to be Ethan, the one she had summoned and bossed around, the one she had considered a burden. He possessed such immense power, yet before her he pretended to be a meek, ordinary man for 10 long years. Why? The answer was self-evident. Because he loved her. He feared that his great power would frighten her, feared she would withdraw from him because of it. So he put away all his sharp edges, disguising himself as a harmless sheep, just so he could quietly stay by her side. And herself? How did she treat him? She treated him as a driver, as an assistant, as a human shield, enjoying his meticulous care, yet turning a blind eye to his devotion. After he took a bullet for her, she sent him away with $3 million, as if dismissing a beggar. After he died, she didn't even attend his funeral. No, that was the previous life. But in this life, she did the same thing. Hith. Sophia suddenly laughed, the laughter tinged with a bit of desolation. She had always thought she was in control of everything, that Ethan was merely a dispensable subordinate. Only now did she realize how absurdly wrong she had been. She wasn't the one in control. She was just a favored fool, arrogant because of that favor. With her own hands, she pushed away the man in the world who loved her most and was most willing to give everything for her. "Miss Taylor, you..." Emma looked at Sophia, who seemed distraught and felt a bit worried. "Prepare the car." Sophia sprang to her feet, grabbed her coat, and hurried out. "Where are you going?" "To hell with him." Sophia's voice trembled with urgency. "No, find out where he is right now. Immediately. She's going to see him now, at once, this instant. She has to apologize to him. She has to bring him back, no matter what the cost." I sent Lily back to school, reminded her to stay safe, then took a taxi back to the real estate agency. As expected, Sarah had already prepared the contract. "Mr. Johnson, you're back. Is everything taken care of?" Then the contract. "Sign it." I skimmed through it hastily, found no problems, and signed my name. "Starting today, the building king of Stellar River Peak is mine. Although it will still be a month before the full payment is made, to me it's already a done deal." After signing the contract, I was in high spirits and declined Sarah's offer to treat me to a meal, strolling alone down to the riverbank to feel the breeze. The blueprint for the future is already crystal clear in my mind. Once I have $300 million US, I'll give myself a long vacation and travel the world. See all the world's beautiful sights, taste all the world's delicious food. As for women, in my previous life, Sophia hurt me so deeply that I've steered clear of relationships ever since. Isn't lying flat alone more enjoyable? Just then, the phone rang again. This time it was Sophia. I looked at the name flashing on the screen, my expression utterly calm, and I hung up immediately. Soon after, the call came again. Hang up again. The third time, I blocked him outright. The world became quiet. I don't know what kind of frantic mood Sophia on the other end of the line was in when she heard that the number you have dialed is currently on another call message. He hung up on me? He actually hung up on me. Sophia paced back and forth in the office, her meticulous makeup unable to hide her agitation. He blocked me. Where her third call failed, she almost screamed. Emma stood nearby trembling, not daring to speak. In 10 years, she had never seen Miss Taylor lose her composure like this. "Locate his phone. Now!" Sophia gave the order. "Miss Taylor, that's illegal." "I told you to do it." Sophia's gaze was murderous. "Yes." A few minutes later, Emma reported, "Miss Taylor, Mr. Johnson's last known location was on Seaside Avenue." Without a second word, Sophia grabbed the car keys and rushed out. By the time her Porsche 911 thundered down the Seaside Avenue, I had long since left. She stood by the river, the evening breeze tousling her long hair, her face full of loss and bewilderment. She couldn't find him. The man who used to appear instantly whenever she called, no matter when or where, now she couldn't find. A huge panic seized her heart, and I, at this moment, am inside a newly opened top private club. The owner of this club is a friend from my previous life called Ryan Zhao. He's a righteous, second-generation rich kid. I came here relying on my memory, and sure enough, he was fretting over security issues before the club's opening. I didn't say much, just showed a few tricks. Ryan was stunned on the spot, immediately treating me like a distinguished guest, giving me the highest level black gold membership card, and even shoving 10% of the equity at me, asking me to be the club's honorary security consultant. I had planned to refuse, but Ryan spoke so sincerely, saying that if I didn't accept it would mean I looked down on him. I had no choice but to reluctantly accept. Anyway, as a consultant, I wouldn't have to do any real work. Free money is a good thing. Why turn it down? Just as Ryan and I were sipping top-shelf whiskey, the door to the private room was pushed open. A stunningly hot woman with an explosive figure walked in. Seeing Ryan, she immediately smiled and greeted him. "Ryan, congrats on your opening." Then her gaze landed on me, and she froze for a moment. Ethan, what are you doing here?" I looked up and was stunned as well. Isn't this Sophia's best friend, the famous socialite of Miss City, Chloe Zhou? In her past life, she certainly wasn't shy about helping Sophia bully me. What a small world. We meet again everywhere in life. Chloe is famous in Fog City's high society as the stamp-collecting queen. She has extremely high standards for men, only the rich or the noble. Someone like me, a former simp, has always been beneath her notice. At this moment, she saw that I was actually sitting with Ryan drinking, her face full of surprise and contempt. "Ryan, when did the standard of your club drop this low? Let any Tom, Dick, or Harry in." She spoke without any courtesy, her gaze scraping at me like a knife. Ryan's expression instantly darkened. "Chloe, watch your words. Ethan is my honored guest. He's my brother." "Brother?" Chloe sounded like she had heard a joke. "Ryan, are you kidding? He's just a dog following Sophia around. Sophia dumped him. What face does he have to come to you? Trying to clamber up the family tree?" I set down my glass, my eyes turning cold. "Chloe, I'm in a good mood today and don't want to argue with you. Get out. You want me to get lost?" Chloe laughed angrily. "Ethan, who do you think you are, daring to speak to me like that? Who are you? Without Sophia, you're nothing but a fart." I didn't speak again. Dealing with women like that is dirty work. I'd rather not get my hands involved. I simply looked at Ryan. Ryan immediately understood. He picked up the walkie-talkie and said coldly, "Security, escort Chloe out. Effective immediately. Revoke her membership, blacklist her, and never admit her again." Chloe's expression changed in an instant. This club was Mist City's newest and most high-end den of decadence. Getting in here was a symbol of status. She had finally managed to get a membership card and was counting on catching a rich sucker here. If she were kicked out, she would lose all face in the circle. "Ryan, how dare you?" she screamed. "For the sake of such a waste, you dare offend me? Do you know what my relationship with Sophia is? I don't care who you're connected to." Ryan waved his hand impatiently. "To me, Ethan's face is bigger than the sky. Throw her out now." Two security guards immediately rushed in, one on each side, holding Chloe. "Let go of me. Do you know who I am? Ethan, you bastard. I won't let you off. Sophia definitely won't let you off either." Chloe's shouting grew more distant until it faded away. The private room returned to silence. Ryan looked at me apologetically. "Ethan, sorry, I embarrassed you." "No problem." I shook my head and picked up my glass again. I just felt a pang in my heart. This is reality. When I had nothing, anyone could kick me down. When I showed my strength, people naturally stepped in to sort everything out for me. This world, in the end, admires strength. I took a sip of wine, my gaze deep. "Sophia, what are you doing now?" "Taylor Group, the president's office." Sophia hadn't slept all night, her eyes bloodshot. She used all her connections and almost turned the entire Miss City upside down, but still couldn't find me. I seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. On the table lay one report after another about me, from my orphanage experiences to my university grades, and then the files about being secretly trained by her grandfather. The more she looked, the more her heart ached, the deeper her regret. She realized that my life had almost entirely revolved around her. I studied finance, so I could help manage her company. I trained in martial arts so I could protect her. Everything I did was for her. But she lost him. Just then, Emma knocked and came in, her expression strange. Miss Taylor, Miss Chloe is here. She says she has something very important to tell you. About Mr. Johnson. Sophia's spirit lifted. Let her in. Soon, Chloe, whose makeup had been ruined by crying, rushed in and, upon seeing Sophia, threw herself at her and began to sob and complain. Sophia, you have to stand up for me. That Ethan, he actually had Ryan kick me out of the club. He even blocked me. Sophia frowned tightly. Ethan, where did you see him? At Ryan's newly opened Stellar Club. He was buddy-buddy with Ryan, looking very impressive. Chloe embellished. Sophia, you're his former follower who's grown wings now. You don't even look at me anymore. He certainly hasn't been looking at you. You need to teach him a good lesson. Sophia ignored her provocation. She only grasped the key point. Xingyao Club. Ryan. She knew Ryan, a well-known rich second generation in Miss City, someone who lived life to the fullest in their circles but had very high standards. Anyone he called a brother was by no means ordinary. Ethan, how many more things is he hiding from me? I understand. Sophia stood up, a trace of determination flashing in her eyes. Sophia, where are you going? To bring him back. Sophia's voice wasn't loud, but it carried an unquestionable firmness. No matter who he is, no matter what he has become, Ethan Johnson, can only belong to her, Sophia Taylor's. When I left the Star Radiance Club, it was already late at night. Ryan insisted on sending a car for me, but I refused. I like walking alone, enjoying this kind of undisturbed quiet. I returned to my shabby rented room. Although I already own a place at the peak of the galaxy, until I finish paying the full amount, this is still my temporary lodging. As soon as I reached downstairs, I saw a familiar figure. Sophia. She was standing under the streetlight, still wearing that white suit. Only it looked a little disheveled. The evening breeze blew through her long hair, making her seem somewhat fragile. When she saw me, her eyes lit up instantly, and she hurried toward me. Ethan, you're back. Her voice carried a hint of joy and grievance she hadn't even noticed in herself. I stopped in my tracks and looked at her with an expressionless face. Miss Taylor, it's so late. Is something wrong? My address struck Sophia like a needle. Before, I would only call her Sophia. Ethan, can we talk? She lowered herself, almost speaking in a pleading tone. I don't think we have anything to talk about. I walked past her, intending to go upstairs. Ethan, she grabbed my wrist. Her hand was very cold. Why? She looked at me, her eyes rimmed with red. Why do this to me? 10 years. You say let go, and you let go. What did you take me for? I was almost laughing with anger. Shouldn't that be something I ask her? Sophia, are you mistaken about something? I shrugged off her hand. We're already broken up? Everything's settled. What do you mean by coming to see me now? I don't want to break up. She almost shouted. I don't agree. Whether you agree or not is not important. I looked at her coldly. Sophia, listen carefully. The Ethan who used to orbit around you is dead. The me now has nothing to do with you. Why? Is it just because of those $3 million? If you think that's too little, I can give you more. 30 million. 100 million. Just come back, she said urgently, assuming money was the key. I smiled. A laugh of genuine derision. Sophia, do you still think, after all this time, that every problem can be solved with money? In your eyes, are feelings and dignity things that can be given a price tag? My words were like a heavy hammer, striking hard at her heart. Her face went pale, her lips trembling. She couldn't speak. Put away that haughty attitude. I looked at her, my gaze without a trace of warmth. I'm not a pet you can buy back with money. I'm tired. I don't want to play these boring games with you anymore. After speaking, I ignored her and turned to walk into the stairwell. Behind me, Sophia's body wavered as if she might collapse at any moment. She watched my resolute back, and tears finally slipped down. She didn't understand why things had turned out like this. She was simply only used to being on top. Could it be that it was truly a mistake? Back at the rental, I completely pushed Sophia out of my mind. After a shower, I lay down on the bed and soon fell asleep. The next day, I was awakened by a rapid knocking at the door. I frowned as I opened the door and found that the person standing there was Lily. She was carrying breakfast. When she saw me, she smiled sheepishly. "Ethan, big brother. I was afraid you hadn't eaten breakfast, so I brought you something." "How did you know I lived here?" I asked, somewhat surprised. I asked around. Lily's cheeks flushed. I looked at the soy milk and fried dough sticks in her hands and felt a warm twinge in my heart. It had been a long time since anyone had brought me breakfast. "Come in." I stepped aside to let her in. The rented room was very small. Lily looked a bit uneasy as soon as she came in. "Brother Ethan, are you really living here?" She looked at the shabby surroundings, feeling somewhat sorry for me. For now, I took the breakfast, sat at the small table, and began to eat. Lily sat opposite me, resting her chin in her hands, quietly watching me. Those big eyes were filled with little stars of admiration. "Brother Ethan, you were really so handsome yesterday. You're impossible to shut up even when it comes to eating." I smiled. He. The atmosphere was warm and natural. Just then my phone rang. It was Ryan. "Ethan, something big has happened." As soon as the call connected, Ryan's anxious voice came through. "What's wrong?" "Aurora Tech. Aurora Tech is being maliciously shorted by an overseas fund. The stock price has started to plunge." I frowned. Malicious short selling? That didn't happen in my previous life. Could it be that my rebirth triggered a butterfly effect? I immediately opened my phone to check the stock price. Sure enough, Aurora Tech stock price plunged all the way after today's opening, falling more than 30% from yesterday's limit up. If it keeps falling like this, forget about $300 million. Even my $30 million will be totally wiped out. "Ethan, what do we do?" I followed the trend and bought some too. Now it's all locked up. Ryan was almost in tears. I narrowed my eyes, try to snatch food from my mouth. "Not that easy. Don't panic," I said in a low voice. "How much capital do they have?" "Rumor has it, at least $1 billion US. A $1 billion short position. It's meant to drive Aurora Tech straight into delisting. Such ruthless measures." "I understand." I hung up the phone, my gaze becoming sharp. "Brother Ethan, did something happen?" Lily asked with concern. "It's nothing, just a little trouble." I stood up and paced in the cramped room. The other side is well funded. A head-on clash definitely won't work. We must find their weakness. Short selling is nothing more than borrowing shares to sell, then buying them back after the price falls to return the shares and pocket the difference. Their Achilles heel is Aurora Tech itself. As long as Aurora Tech can release even bigger positive news and restore market confidence, the stock price can be pulled back up. By then, that $1 billion of shorting funds will be brutally squeezed out of their positions, wiped out completely. But now Aurora Tech's biggest positive news has already been released. In the short term, where would they find even bigger good news? I suddenly remembered something. In my previous life, after Aurora Tech announced the chip technology, they actually had another ace up their sleeve. That means their technology had already been approved by the military, and they had signed an enormous, sky-high procurement contract. But that news, because of a confidentiality agreement, wasn't released until a month later. And it was precisely that announcement that finally stabilized Aurora Tech's stock price at $120. If I could get that news released early. I immediately picked up my phone and dialed a number I had thought I would never call again in this lifetime. The phone rang 3 times and was answered. An aged, yet authoritative voice came from the other end. "Hello, Mr. Arthur, it's me." Silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, a sigh carrying excitement and complexity finally came. "You brat, you're finally willing to call me." Arthur Taylor, Sophia's grandfather, a former military district big shot, was also the man who personally trained me into a blade. He was one of the few people I genuinely respected. In my previous life when I died, it was that old man who collected my body and erected my tombstone. "You brat, I thought you had forgotten about this old man." There's a trace of reproach in Arthur's voice, but more of it was relief. How could that be? I smiled. Don't talk nonsense. You never come for no reason. Spit it out, what do you want? Arthur, the kind of man he was, immediately guessed my intention. I won't beat around the bush either. I directly recounted how Aurora Tech had been maliciously shorted. Mr. Arthur, I know Aurora Tech has cooperation with the military. I need this information released now, immediately, right away. Silence on the other end of the line. This is not a small matter. Leaking military procurement information in advance is a breach of protocol. Give me a reason, Arthur said in a low voice. First, this is an open scheme. The other side is using their capital advantage to strangle our own high-tech firms. Their intentions are damnable. We can't let them succeed. Second, I've gone all in. On the other end of the line, Arthur was stunned for a moment, then burst into a hearty laugh. Ha ha, good kid, you're honest. All right, I'll do you this favor. But you'll owe me one, kid. No problem. I agreed readily. I hung up the phone and let out a long breath. With Arthur handling it, this matter was secure. Sure enough, in less than half an hour, a major piece of news was released through the military's official media. Warm congratulations. Our military has reached a strategic cooperation with Aurora Tech, with the first batch of purchase orders amounting to as much as tens of billions of US dollars. Once the news broke, the entire capital market instantly erupted. Aurora Tech's stock price, as if strapped to a rocket, shot up even more ferociously than before. Limit down. Reopened. Straight line surge. Limit up. The whole process took less than 5 minutes. Those shorting funds didn't have time to cover their positions and were instantly trapped. I watched the account balance on my phone skyrocket, a faint smile tugging at my mouth. $30 million, $50 million, $100 million, $200 million. By the afternoon close, my account balance had already frozen at $320 million. I had made it, in one day, from $3 million to $300 million. This is the power of rebirth. Ryan's call came through again. This time his voice was full of ecstatic relief and unbounded adoration for me. Ethan, you're my real brother. You're stock god. I love you to death. I couldn't be bothered to listen to his screaming and just hung up. I looked at Lily beside me, who had witnessed the whole thing from start to finish and was completely numb, and smiled. Come on, I'll take you to a place. 1 hour later, I took Lily and returned to the real estate agency. The agent named Jack went weak in the knees when he saw me and almost fell to his knees. Sarah ran out to meet us, her smile brighter than a flower. Mr. Johnson, you're here. I ignored them, took a bank card out of my pocket. There are 300 million US dollars on it. Swipe it. That penthouse at Galaxy Apex, I want it right now. The whole room fell dead silent. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the card in my hand. It wasn't a card. It was an ordinary person's dream that could never be reached in several lifetimes. And I achieved it in just one day. That night, I moved into the peak of the galaxy. Standing before the enormous floor-to-ceiling window, overlooking the night view of the entire Mist City, I felt a deep calm. No elation, no excitement. As if all of this had always been meant to belong to me. Lily was beside me, her little face flushed with excitement. Big brother Ethan, this place is just too beautiful. Do you like it? I asked. I do, she nodded vigorously. From now on, you can live here. I said calmly. Lily froze, then her cheeks flushed. No. I can't, this is too precious. There's nothing you can't do. I looked at her. I won't be back often. Such a big house will be lonely lived in by one person. If you move in, think of it as helping me keep the place. I could tell this girl was kind and innocent. Letting her move in would at least give her a stable living environment, so she wouldn't be harassed again by scum like Leo. As for romantic feelings between us, I don't have that in mind for now. Lily hesitated for a long time, but in the end, under my insistence, she agreed. I watched her happily run back and forth in the huge living room like a joyful little bird, and a trace of a smile unconsciously appeared at the corner of my mouth. Maybe this isn't so bad after all. Just then, the doorbell rang. I was a bit puzzled. Who would come here? Through the entrance surveillance, I saw the person standing outside the door. Sophia. She changed out of her suit, put on a white dress, wore light makeup, and let her hair down. This outfit took away some of her chill and added a bit of softness. This was the look she used to only show in front of me. She was still holding a thermos, standing at the door with an anxious expression, like a little girl who had done something wrong and was waiting for judgment. I looked at her on the monitor, my expression not showing the slightest ripple. I didn't open the door. Instead, I pressed the intercom button. Something wrong? My cold voice came through the speaker. Sophia trembled. She lifted her head, looked at the camera, and her eyes instantly filled with tears. Ethan, I made your favorite corn and pork rib soup. I simmered it for a long time. Could you open the door? There was a trace of pleading in her voice. Corn and pork rib soup. I smiled. In my past life, I begged her countless times to cook for me once. She always wore a cold expression and said she was busy and had no time. Now, when I didn't want to drink, she brought it to me. How ironic. No need, Miss Taylor, I said indifferently. I've already eaten. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Her voice turned tearful. I shouldn't have used money to humiliate you. I shouldn't have been so cold to you. Will you forgive me? Can we go back to how we were? Back to the way things were. Return to that past where you looked down from on high and I was humble as dust. Return to that past where I gave you everything and you discarded me like worn-out shoes. Sophia. I cut her off. My voice was calm and clear. Do you know? The most useless things in this world are affection that arrives too late and tears of regret. A broken mirror will not be made whole again. My life has already turned to a new chapter, and you're merely a period on the previous page. Go back. Don't come again. After speaking, I hung up the call and turned off the surveillance. Outside the door, Sophia stood there dumbfounded, letting tears blur her vision. The insulated food container slipped from her weakened hands and clattered to the floor. Steaming soup spilled everywhere, just like her heart completely shattered. As for me, I only turned around, poured myself a glass of red wine, walked to the window, and continued enjoying the night view that belonged to me. A new life had only just begun. As for Sophia, whether she regrets it or not is none of my business. In this life, I live only for myself.